What makes one a hero? Some would say a hero is a person who helps others in need. Some see a hero as a brave person willing to stand up for what is right. Heroes are seen as brave, strong individuals who will stand up to evil. There are two main types of heroes that we see in fiction. There is the classic hero, which is a character that has a great talent or ability that separates them from everyone else. This could be how strong or how smart they are. The classic hero is shown as a normal person until they have their call to action, where their talent or powers are revealed. Peter Parker is a perfect example of this. His call to action is the death of his Uncle Ben, who taught him with great power comes great responsibility. Upon receiving his great power from the radioactive spider, he uses Uncle Ben's words to become the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man we know today. The second type of hero is the everyman hero. The everyman hero is your normal average human being without any apparent heroic qualities. They are normally underdogs and forced into situations to be heroic. But when push comes to shove, the everyman hero will always do the morally right thing, as they have a very strong moral compass. A good example of the everyman hero is Jim Gordon from Gotham. He is your everyday cop, trying to keep his city safe, and always tries to resolve situations without resorting to killing or underhanded tactics. The one thing these heroes have in common is a moral code that prevents them from doing terrible things, such as murder. Without a moral code, heroes are susceptible to committing evil even if it's for the greater good. But where does that leave the people with questionable morals but do more good than harm? People with questionable morals who are willing to help others in need are known as anti-heroes. There are many types of anti-heroes, the most common one being the classic anti-hero. Heroes are known for their confidence, bravery, stoicism, and being very strong. The classic anti-hero is the complete inverse of that, having self-doubt, being fearful, anxious, and lacking in combat skills. Normally, the classic anti-hero's character arc is overcoming their weakness to save the day. A great example of a classic anti-hero is Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul. Kaneki is just your average college student just trying to survive until he gets into an accident and becomes a half-ghoul, which flips his life and mental state upside down. He starts out very weak and has a fragile mental state. Kaneki is able to protect those he cares about by overcoming his demons and getting stronger. The main character of ReZero, Natsuki Subaru, fits this archetype very well, in that Subaru is riddled with self-doubt, as shown in Arc 5 as he constantly believes that his reputation as a hero is undeserved, or when Subaru is so scared of dying he's on the verge of tears and running away from all of his problems. Subaru is also extremely weak and is normally a sitting duck in every battle. He is anything but a hero through that lens. However, Subaru is in fact a critique of how heroes are perceived by those who watch popular fiction and media. If someone described a person with the traits of a classic anti-hero, you would probably find it very hard to believe that they could be known as a hero. Subaru is an interesting case, where we, the viewers, can see all of the failed loops and see all of his flaws and mental breakdowns. But the other characters in ReZero only see his bravery and countless successes because of Return by Death. The other characters represent the way that we see heroes such as Spider-Man, Batman, and many more. To all of them, Subaru is one of Lagunica's greatest heroes. Little do they know, Subaru is one bad day away from becoming their greatest enemy. ReZero has a multitude of side stories. Some of the most popular ones are the what if side stories. In the main story, we see Subaru get tested many times, where he can choose the path of sin or virtue. Every time Subaru is confronted with these tests, he sticks with his moral code that won't allow him to do unethical actions, even though it would significantly reduce his suffering. The what if side stories are different timelines where Subaru fails to stick to his values and gives in to his lesser urges. They show more of Subaru's mental state during these decisions, and shows how close he is from going down the wrong path. We see Subaru stray further away from being a hero and even becoming villainous in some what ifs. In the Aganu If, we see a version of Subaru who decided to listen to Rem's last words in Arc 3. He doesn't go to the mansion and spends 20 years trying to get revenge on Betelgeuse without using Return by Death. This version of Subaru does not fall under the classic anti-hero archetype. He is actually a pragmatic anti-hero. Pragmatic anti-heroes are normally self-centered and reluctant to accept the role of hero, but they are willing to spring into action if they see wrongdoings. Pragmatic anti-heroes are also willing to do not-so-good things in order to achieve their goals. Unlike his main story counterpart, Aganu If Subaru is strong enough to defend himself, leading him to not rely on others as much and why he's isolated himself from everyone. Aganu If Subaru is very cold to Ferris, Ram, and Beatrice. He is only willing to help them if they're willing to help him get his revenge on Betelgeuse. To Subaru, they are nothing more than tools to help achieve his goal. While he is hunting the witch cult down and ruining their plans, he is not doing it to make the world a better place. Subaru is only motivated by his burning hatred for Betelgeuse. That is the only thing he cares about. Subaru is so determined to kill Betelgeuse, he is willing to do anything to kill him. When Subaru is on the verge of death after losing to Betelgeuse, he is saved by Beatrice and Ferris. Once Subaru wakes up, he tries to coddle Beatrice, trying to get her to change her mind about making a contract with him, when instead he should be grateful that she even bothered bringing him to Ferris. Beatrice, of course, did not change her mind, instead doubled down on not making a contract due to Subaru's selfishness. After failing to recruit Beatrice, Subaru went to Ferris. Ferris immediately declined, but before he could turn his back on Subaru, Subaru plays his only card. He knows the person that Ferris loves but has forgotten, which had left him mentally broken for decades. Subaru promises to tell Ferris only if he helps him. Not only is this version of Subaru willing to resort to emotional blackmail to get what he wants, he is literally willing to make a deal with the devil if it means killing Betelgeuse. Subaru actually contracts Elsa to help him kill Betelgeuse. While Agnew of Subaru has questionable morals at times, he is closer to being a hero than a villain. If we compare this to the Greedif story, we see a version of Subaru that enters the gray area between heroes and villains. This Subaru makes a contract with Echidna to free the sanctuary. He is willing to do anything to solve this impossible loop. Greedif Subaru is another type of anti-hero, the unscrupulous anti-hero. While these anti-heroes' motives and intentions are clearly still good, their actions are very questionable. They are normally extremely cynical, and their drive to do good is often skewed by past traumas and experiences. Unscrupulous anti-heroes can be vicious, sometimes enjoying the acts of violence that they've deemed necessary. Subaru does manage to free the sanctuary, but it doesn't come without a cost. Subaru dies over 100 million times. He doesn't care if the people he cares about wept, as long as they were alive. To Subaru, that was worth more than his own life. Subaru was able to recruit Reinhardt to the Amelia faction by convincing Fel to drop out of the election. This left Reinhardt extremely depressed and losing his will to live. But that doesn't matter to Subaru, as this was necessary. This is a common trend in the Greedif. While everyone is alive, they are left in much worse mental states. Amelia, Beatrice, and Garfield never overcome their issues and are left broken or depressed. Subaru is also left broken, feeling forced to take Echidna's hand to finally be able to leave the sanctuary. While he may die way more than he needs to, at least he's able to eventually complete his goals. Subaru is clearly messed up in the head, but his intentions are still good. He's just going about it in the wrong way. Greedif Subaru is no hero and not a good person, but at least he's protecting his friends. In the Pridif, this is completely thrown out of the window. Pridif Subaru is a special type of anti-hero. He is the hero in name only anti-hero. This type of anti-hero believes they're fighting on the good side, but their motives and morals are clearly bad. If they were not the main character or the main point of view, they could easily take the role of a villain in a story. The Pridif diverges very early in the main story, during Subaru's first day in Lagunica. Instead of Subaru swallowing his pride and accepting he is not the Kirito of this world, Subaru does not call for help in the alley. Subaru ends up dying 88 times, desperately trying to save Amelia from Elsa. Subaru is at his limit after trying to brute force every possible method to stop Elsa. Subaru runs into the same thugs shortly after returning by death, but this time, Subaru is done being nice. He brutally kills them and stomps on their corpses. After Subaru takes their lives, he reflects on how it wasn't smart to kill them, and on top of that, it felt gross too. Before hiding their bodies, he swears not to do anything like that again. But little did Subaru know, once he crossed that line, there was no coming back. Eventually, a defeated Subaru watches Reinhardt effortlessly defeat Elsa and save the day. This broke Subaru, as he had tried so hard and suffered so much, just for this guy to swoop in and steal all the glory. Subaru then helps Elsa escape from Reinhardt. Further evidence that his moral compass is beginning to go askew. After helping Elsa, Subaru decides to join the witch cult to learn more information about Amelia, as he still knew very little about her. Once Subaru learns Amelia's name isn't Satella and that she's a royal selection candidate, he makes it his mission to repay her kindness to him on his first loop by having her win the election. Subaru goes as far as brainwashing Ferris into becoming his slave and helping him kill Julius to eliminate Amelia's competition. Then Subaru kills every single Sin Archbishop and lets Roswell take the credit for it on Amelia's behalf. Finally, Subaru, Mei Li, and Elsa set the entire capital of Lagunica on fire, killing hundreds of people in the process. success. All of this to make Subaru the greatest villain known to Lagunica, and have Amelia kill him at the end. Subaru knew what he was doing was wrong, but he continued to tell himself that he was doing it all for Amelia's sake. While this may have been true at the start, Subaru's pride blinds him from seeing that he is only pretending to do all of this for Amelia, when deep down, he's only doing this for himself. Subaru sacrificed and hurt many people, but he did rid the world of the Fanart bishops. But all that goodwill went to waste as he abandoned his morals and killed countless of innocent people. At the end of the Pride-if, Subaru permanently dies, ending his suffering. By taking this path, Subaru ended up extending his suffering in the short term, but was finally able to be satisfied with his life and was freed from return by death. So far, it seems Subaru is on the path of a hero, while showing potentially questionable or villainous motives at times. However, the Wrath-if story is where Subaru is inarguably a villain. This version of Subaru is a special type of villain, the anti-villain. Anti-villains are villains who have sympathetic motivation or appealing characteristics, such as being kind-hearted or being honorable in nature and not being pure evil. The Wrath-if diverges in Arc 2, where Subaru decides to accept Beatrice's protection instead of jumping off of the cliff to save Rem. Subaru was tired of all of the suffering at the mansion. Everywhere he went became a living hell. He was scared of dying again. No one blames Subaru for feeling this way, but everything changes when he smashes a stone on Ram's head. Just like the Pride-if, Subaru no longer becomes relatable the moment he breaks his moral code and is willing to resort to murder. Subaru becomes known as the Purge King, leader of the criminal organization Pleiades. Subaru hires two strong mercenaries, Cecilus and Hannibal, to kill countless people without reason for most of the time. Subaru and his men visit the Roswell mansion to tie up loose ends. Subaru orders Cecilus to kill Roswell while he takes Hannibal to look for Beatrice. Once Subaru finds Beatrice, he thanks Beatrice for protecting him that day. With a kunai in his hand, Subaru approaches Beatrice. Beatrice says her final words. "Are you Betty's that person, I suppose?" Subaru doesn't know what Beatrice was referring to, but with a smile and genuine kindness, he raised his blade. "I'm that person." While the Subaru that we all know and love is gone, he still does not forget the kindness that people have given him. After the raid on the mansion, Subaru takes Amelia back to his castle Pandemonium, where Amelia spends her days locked up in a room as Subaru's princess and lap pillow. If we did not know how Subaru is in the main story, there is no question that Subaru has become an irredeemable villain. At the start of the Wrath-if, you can understand why Subaru took Beatrice's protection and ran away from the mansion. But the more Subaru gives into wrath, he becomes more unrelatable and vicious. As shown in the what-ifs, Subaru is one wrong decision away from becoming a darker anti-hero or a villain. But where does that leave the main story Subaru? Is he a hero or not? As of right now in Arc 7, Subaru is still a classic anti-hero. He still lacks the qualities one would associate with a hero, but he still sticks to his moral code. Subaru's journey is far from over though. Subaru could end up transitioning from a classic anti-hero to a classic hero. Right now in Arc 7, his moral code is being challenged more than before. Subaru has refused to kill any humans and always looked for a solution without bloodshed. But in Arc 7, Subaru is constantly being forced into situations where he can't save everyone. In Arc 4, Roswell tried to force Subaru to be willing to make sacrifices by either choosing the mansion or the sanctuary. Subaru was able to save both thanks to Otto and the others' help. But that's not how life works. Subaru is only delaying the inevitable. Even Roswell warned Subaru about this at the end of Arc 4. "You have chosen to save everything. You must not miscarry a single thing. A world of loss must not lead to the future. So long as a future where you accept loss could lead to a future I do not desire, I will invalidate it." As we have seen in the what-ifs, when Subaru feels he has been backed into a corner with no options left, he is willing to abandon everything he stands for. But in the main story, it seems Subaru no longer has that luxury, as Roswell will destroy everything and force Subaru to restart. It will be interesting to see if Subaru will be able to stick to his code of saving everyone, or if he will abandon it like his what-if counterparts. We have seen Subaru refuse to give in to his lesser urges time and time again. It shows how heroic he can be. As long as he continues to refuse to resort to unethical means to solve his problems, Subaru will continue to conquer his demons and eventually live up to the hero reputation he is known for.